right, this story comes from CNN.com. Supreme Court temporarily extends access to abortion drug, sets Friday night deadline. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito on Wednesday temporarily extended a hold on a lower court ruling that would impose restrictions on access to an abortion drug, a move meant to give the justices more time to consider the issue. In a similar order last week, Alito had said the court would rule by 11:59 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesday, the new order, called an administrative stay, moves that deadline to Friday, April 24th. The order was written by Alito because he was jurisdiction over the lower court that ruled in the dispute. Court is going to rule. Other than that, it's likely there will be some kind of writing, whether by the majority or by justice who might be writing separate concurrences or dissents, said Steve Vladek, CNN Supreme Court analyst and professor at University of Texas School of Law. But it is impossible to know which way that ruling is going to go. All we know for sure is that we'll know more by the end of the evening on Friday. The case is the most important abortion-related dispute to reach the High Court since the justices overturned Roe v. Wade last term, triggering conservative states across the country to either ban, severely restrict, and the procedure. How the dispute over the medication abortion is ultimately resolved could make it more difficult for women to obtain abortion, even in the states that still allow it. At issue is the scope of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's authority to regulate a drug, mifepristone, that the medical community has deemed safe and effective. Mifepristone has been used by millions of women across the country in the more than 2 decades that it has been on the market. The legal controversy began last November when a group of representing doctors who oppose abortion filed suit, arguing that the FDA had not done enough to ensure the safety of the drug some 2 decades earlier. U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk, a Trump appointee, issued a broad ruling on April 7th that blocked the approval of the drug, as well as changes the FDA made in subsequent years to make the drug more accessible. He, however, delayed the effective date of his ruling by 7 days to give time for an appeal. Rejecting the consensus of the medical community, Kacsmaryk raised questions about the safety of the drug, peppering his own opinion with jargon that is often used by opponents by abortion. He labeled the doctors performed the procedure abortionists and explained that he would reject the term fetus in favor of a more inflammatory unborn human instead of referring to the procedure as a medication abortion. He insisted on calling it a chemical abortion. And that's what it is, technically. The FDA, Kacsmaryk contended at one point, acquiesced on its legitimate safety concerns in violation of his statutory duty based on a plainly unsound reasoning and studies that did not support its conclusions. Mainstream medical associations have rebuked his assertions about the dangers of the drug, and mifepristone has been shown to be safer than common medicines like penicillin and Viagra. On a key threshold issue, the judge insisted that the plaintiffs, doctors who do not use or prescribe the drug, had the legal right to be in court to make their case because they alleged that the use of the drug could overwhelm the medical system. Stunned by the breadth of the decision, the Biden administration and Danco, a manufacturer of the drug, filed with the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. The appeals court ultimately let stand the government's approval of the drug, but agreed with Kaczmarek that access could be limited. Excuse me. A divided three-judge panel ordered a return to the stricter pre-2016 FDA regime around the drug, which prevents mailing the pill to patients who obtained it through telehealth or virtual visits to their providers, rather than traveling to a clinic or hospital to obtain the drug in person. It also effectively revokes the 2019 approval of the generic version of the drug. The restrictions also affect the instructions of the label for the medication, shortening the window of obtaining the pill 7 weeks into pregnancy as opposed to 10. It's possible, however, to even with the ruling in effect, some providers could go off label and continue to prescribe mifepristone until 10 weeks. The Fifth Circuit claimed that FDA's rules for the drug created an exceedingly unusual regime, and that the anti-abortion doctors had the right to sue over it because they would necessarily be injured by the consequences of the FDA's decision to cut out doctors from the prescription and administration of mifepristone. The appeals court said the statute of limitations likely barred the plaintiffs from challenging the 20,000 approval, but that they were likely to succeed in their claims against the FDA's more recent move to adjust the rules around the drug. The court accused the FDA of having an ostrich head in the sand approach to the drug that was deeply troubling. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar urged the justices to intervene in legal papers citing unprecedented lower court orders countermanding FDA's scientific judgment and unleashing regulatory chaos by suspending the existing FDA approval conditions of use or of mifepristone. Boy, they really trying to stop these abortions any way possible. Yeah. I really can't comment on this because I'm not a woman and I can't produce a baby, so I just leave it alone. Please like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell. Let me know what you think in the comments.